Hello and welcome to the Divine in Our Time podcast, where we believe that God has not ceased to be a God of miracles, and we are so happy you're here.
Good morning. Well, it's afternoon.
I know. I'm so happy you're doing this because I know you're cutting into your gym time to do this with me.
My gosh, you guys, I love seeing you guys there. That's awesome.
You look good and healthy, and you look like you feel amazing.
Yes, I do. It's so good. It's so
fabulous.
good. Well, thank you. You're sweet.
So welcome, Kelly White. I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Of course.
Kelly, do you want to just go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then just tell us whatever miracles it is that you're wanting to share and talk about? Let's talk about it.
A little about me. I grew up right here in Louisville, Kentucky, and I've pretty much stayed here my whole life. And we settled out here in Oldham County. We love it. And this is where we've raised our family, and we're on the brink of being empty nesters here so soon. And we have 3 boys. One is a bonus boy, and we adopted our bonus boy when he was 16. But both of our 2 oldest are moved out, and we have a senior in high school. Hoot, almost moved out. So we're almost there, man. It's great.
Winning. Kelly recently got, she was diagnosed with cancer, breast cancer, a year ago now, right? Wasn't it the end of 24?
Yeah, let's go through it. I mean, the cancer miracles in the last year have been aplenty for sure. It's just funny. We were just interviewed for a paper that Michelle Flint did. And it was interesting. Both Brandon and I kind of looked at each other and we were like, cancer is not the hardest thing we've been through. We've been through a lot harder. Cancer definitely was hard. But I think when you go through other things in your married life, cancer by far was not the hardest thing we've been through. So we were ready for cancer when it showed up at our door in a way. It was interesting just leading up to finding the cancer. It was really interesting. I was supposed to have a mammogram in July of 24, and somehow that mammogram got canceled and pushed back to November or December. And it was interesting because in the month leading up to my mammogram, I was experiencing pain in my breast. And I was like, well, that's new, but it wasn't consistent pain. It was sharp shooting pain. It would come and go very irregularly, but it was a noticeable change. During this time, I even got my check under the hood with my OBGYN. And I was telling her about it. And she said, oh, pain usually is nothing to ever worry about. You get your exam and everything checked out. She didn't feel anything. That was just a few weeks before I even had my mammogram. So I check into my mammogram, and one of the questions they asked was, are you experiencing any new pain? And I put yes. And the intake nurse, she said, I don't feel right about getting this regular mammogram. I'm going to reschedule you to have a different type of mammogram where it's a different picture and the radiologist will read it while you're here. Okay. So I had it rescheduled for the following week and went in, and the radiologist read it, and they were like, yes, we found a mass. And I'm like, okay, so what do we do now? And this was crazy. Somebody had canceled their biopsy that day. So they were able to get me right in.
That's crazy.
Right? Crazy, because otherwise I would have had to wait.
Perfect.
I know. I would have had to wait weeks or even a month plus to get the biopsy done. So somebody had canceled. They were able to get me right in. I had a biopsy.
How did you feel, real quick, going back to the nurse that canceled you the day of? Were you irritated by that? Were you like, let's just get this done? Like, my OB said it should be fine and you're a nurse, or or were you like, oh, thank goodness somebody, like, did you kind of have a nagging going, I think I need to be worried about this, and I'm glad somebody else is validating that.
Right. I wouldn't say I was necessarily overly worried about it, but I appreciated her proactiveness in listening to me, for me to wait a week to have it done the right way, if you will. Yes, I was totally fine with it. This was the weekend of Festival of Nativities.
So real quick too, Festival of Nativities, if you are in the Louisville area, you need to come see it. We do it every year in Crestwood at our building for our church. It's the church in Crestwood on 329, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's across from the Walmart.
It is a fabulous event every year. And what's been really cool to be a part of that, I've been a part of it for 14 years, to see how much it's grown and the people in the community that come and look forward to it every year.
Well, because it happens the weekend after Thanksgiving. So you have Thanksgiving and it's the very next week. So it's like it's a fabulous way to kick off the season. And it's just there's musical numbers that are there, and then there's tons of nativities everywhere, and the decorations are just it's just so beautifully done every year, but it takes a lot of work to do that.
It takes a lot of work. The Festival of 24, we kind of revamped it a little bit to include trees that were in memory of someone. Being a part of the festival that year was more meaningful to me. I finally had those moments when I was working the festival of just what you wanted it to be, of like, this is how I needed to kick off my Christmas season. And it filled me with peace while I was there. I wasn't anxious and running around. I actually enjoyed the moment and walking around. And while I had just had this biopsy done and knowing
what might be on the horizon.
Yeah, what might be on the horizon. I decided, Kelly, you're just going to take it in. You're here in this moment. You're going to let the music fill you. You're going to look at these nativities, and you're going to look at these trees of people decorated these trees in memory of someone. And I knew a few of the people that they had decorated the trees for. I knew them personally. And so those trees meant more to me as I was looking at them. And I had no idea what I was asking of how hard it was for those that were decorating the trees in memory of their loved one. And I got to be there while a few of them were decorating them for their loved one, and just how emotional it was for them. And I realized I've asked them to do such a crazy hard thing, but they did it. And I got to be the beneficiary of their hard work, because it was the whole reason for the season. Because of Jesus, we can see our loved ones again. It was a great moment for me personally. I loved being there. After the festival was over, Brandon and I, we took a little trip down to Aruba, and we've been doing this for a few years, where we would meet my sister Carrie and her husband Peter. We flew to Aruba, and literally we're getting off the plane, and I get a phone call from my doctor. And as I'm walking to go get our luggage, I hear the words, "You have cancer." And I stopped walking, and I was like, "Oh, okay." And I love it. She's like, "Is this a good time?" And I said, "It's perfect. I'm in Aruba, so I'm fine. I'm going to soak in what you've just told me." And she said, "Well, I am so sorry." And I said, "Well, you don't need to be sorry." So she said, "I'll call you in a day or two to set up the rest of the arrangements when you get home." And the rest of those arrangements were meeting with an oncologist, a radiation oncologist, a genetics counselor, a surgeon. So there was a whole team of people that she was going to schedule us to meet. And so literally I got off. I was walking to luggage where my sister was waiting for me. She quickly found some paper and held up a sign, and she said, "My breast is friend."
Oh.
And I loved it, because I was like, well, this is exactly where I need to be to soak in this new news and really prepare for what's coming in a few short days. And literally, I would float in my raft while I was by myself sometimes. And I would just, Kelly, you have cancer. And I don't know what this looks like. I have no idea what all of this is going to look like, but it's okay. So we get back from Aruba. We hit the ground running.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Sorry, real fast. That would have wrecked my trip. I would have been so anxious about, are we talking stage 1, stage 4? Like, how did you, because it's in my personality to let it wreck me. Or was it a tender mercy?
It absolutely was a tender mercy because I love being in the sunshine and in the water. And gosh, I was there with my sister and Brandon, and we were able to have fun. And I'm not one that was asking and getting worried about all those things, because right now I just had to accept you have cancer. That's all I know. Those are the facts. Everything else is speculation. And I could go down and really get myself down and depressed with speculation, but I was able just to focus on the facts. And the facts was I had cancer. And the other thing I just felt was it's going to be okay. Whatever okay was. And
is it in your nature? I feel like it's in your nature. Like, I feel like you're a very positive, everybody in your family is. Like, your husband's the same way.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of positivity. And has it always been in your nature? And was this in your nature then to just kind of go, okay, well, this is what I'm going to focus on, and I'm going to not stress or worry about all the things that I don't know or can't control? Is that kind of how you approach life in general?
Yes, very much so.
Is that always been something that you've been able to do? Because it's something I really admire about you and Brandon both.
Right. That's a great question. Honestly, I think years ago, like I had shared, cancer hasn't been the hardest thing that we've been through. Probably 15 years prior to a cancer diagnosis was the hardest time that we went through. We were on divorce's doorsteps, and we were in counseling for the better part of a year. And during these times, I would definitely not look at the facts versus my speculations. I was going down deep, dark rabbit holes, and they weren't serving me. And so it's taken the year plus of counseling that we were in and the tools that we were given during that time and practicing those tools. So for me, it's definitely been a learned skill over the years of just being able to look at, this is what's been handed to us. I can go down the path, and I'm going to get depressed and really sad about all these things that necessarily aren't true. Years of practice has definitely taught me just to focus on what are the facts here versus what are my other thoughts and opinions about this, because I can focus on the facts and stay positive about them. Trust me, there's plenty of times that I've been grieving and sad all about it. But overall, at that time in Aruba, it was, that's just what I've got to focus on is you've got cancer. I don't know anything else. We'll learn more as time progresses. And the more we know, and then I can add a layer of worry on. But right now,
I feel like your ability to focus on the reality and not your perception or speculation has been a huge benefit to you in this journey for you, just from the outside looking in. And I feel like that's a skill that I think it's something I wish I had, and maybe I need to go to counseling. Who was your counselor? I could use some help with that. I think that's a phenomenal skill.
Yeah. So anyway, we get home from Aruba, we meet our team of people. We first meet with a genetics counselor. They take swabs and blood samples so that they will then run all kinds of genetic tests on you. And those take a few weeks to get back. But then after the genetics counselor, all on the same day, then we went and met with the surgeon. Then we met with what was the plan of action, what we wanted to do. But knowing that if she cut me open and things were worse, don't rule out a mastectomy. I trust you to make a judgment call, but I would like to do the lumpectomy. That's my first preference. And then met with the oncologist. And, at this point, there are so many unknowns. They're giving you, okay, this is the treatment plan that we are thinking. But if the surgeon gets in there and things are worse, then we have to go with this plan. And once the surgeon gets in there, we have to wait for your pathology reports to come back. So you meet with the oncologist and literally you've got 3 different plans that they're giving you. And so you don't know what it is. And then you go and you meet with your radiation oncologist. Here's his plan. So we left. It was so overwhelming, but we didn't know what was going to happen. Really, It was like, well, we just have to have the surgery first. And then we'll have to wait for results to come in to see which plan
we do moving forward.
But yeah. Anyway, had the surgery. It was a success. It was spread a lot more than what they had thought. I had a few tests done prior to surgery. I had a breast MRI. And in the MRI, which was 3 weeks before my surgery, it showed that the cancer was, it had not spread to any lymph nodes, which that was awesome. But 3 weeks later, when I had the surgery, the mass had grown and it had spread to my lymph nodes.
This was a super fast growing lump.
It was. And so after surgery, and we had gotten the pathology reports back, I tested positive for the HER2. It's called the HER2 gene. And essentially it's the accelerator for breast cancer. And I'm so grateful because, had I waited to get a mammogram, who knows? This was 3 weeks from my breast MRI to the surgery, and it had spread. And so
3 weeks from your breast MRI that they did in lieu of the mammogram.
Sorry. So they wanted a breast MRI just to
kind of be able to see.
This is, So after the mammogram, here's your breast MRI. Let's get a kind of a baseline for where we are. And just from that,
to 3 weeks later.
Yeah, they were surprised. They were like, wow, okay, it was bigger than what we had originally thought. She did have to take more than what we had originally thought. And she had to take some lymph nodes. That determined the course of treatment.
Yeah.
My course of treatment was a very aggressive form of chemo. And this was interesting. I thought chemo is chemo, Oh, you do chemo. I didn't realize how many different chemo cocktails there were. Your cocktail can really determine the physical effects that you have on it. And so my chemo cocktail was very aggressive and it was very, very harsh. And my oncologist, she basically was saying, this is going to be very aggressive. And yes, you will lose your hair. You will feel like dying because it's so harsh. We're going to take you to the brink of death without killing you. And then we're going to bring you back.
Yep.
And I was like, okay.
And we're going to do it over and over and over.
Yes. Yes. And so some of the things that you don't know when you're going through it, but it's like, okay, I'm just going to lose my hair and it'll be fine. What they don't tell you is not only do you lose your hair, but your sense of taste. Everything tastes awful, and it tastes awful for weeks. And then you get just a couple days before it's time to go back for more chemo, things finally start to taste good again. And you're so hungry. You're hungry all the time. And then if you do eat, I know for me, either I was throwing it up or pooping it out. Nothing just stayed. But yet you're blowing up like a balloon because of all the steroids you're on. And I'm like, this isn't fair. I'm so hungry all the time. I haven't eaten anything, but my clothes aren't fitting me.
Nobody rocked a bald head like you did, though. You have a fabulous bald head. I could never pull off the bald head like you did.
Yeah.
For real. I don't say that just to say it.
And I thought for sure, I've got a few wigs and I never wore them because I don't know why. I tried them on a few different times. Like, this might be fun going out, but I think I was probably more nervous about if the wig turned or,
Yeah.
right? Like, is it obvious it's fake? Yeah. So chemotherapy, that was really brutal. And then 21 treatments of radiation.
Mm-hmm.
Radiation was a lot easier physically on the body than chemotherapy was. Radiation, it burns you from the inside out. And so, yeah, that was uncomfortable, but radiation by far, that was easy. In the grand scheme of
Comparatively,
things, compared to chemotherapy for sure. But yeah, during chemotherapy, that was rough and so hard. And I know for my family, them watching me go through chemotherapy, they held, my boys in particular, it was hard to watch them go through it because not only was I sick, I looked really sick.
Yeah.
And there was just nothing they could do about it. So my boys were just so sweet and so caring. Whenever they were home, I tried to be out in the main area. And they would always just come over and just sit and talk with me. And even though they had to run and go and do, they always just made time. And I appreciated that. Brady in particular, he was there for the whole ride of chemotherapy, and where it got to be its worst, I was thankful that he had his basketball and his friends to where he could lean on them at a time of support for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was, it was hard, but
it's hard.
But there have been so many things during the whole wave of this treatment. And then for me, I had to do immunotherapy, which I've still got a few more of those treatments. But essentially, immunotherapy is a new targeted therapy for HER2 positive and some estrogen fed cancers. We're boosting certain cells in my body, and while at the same time killing my estrogen.
Okay.
Because we want to kill off that estrogen because that's what is ultimately feeding the cancer. I mean, it's been a year plus of time. And like in that year's time, from the last week of December in 2024 to July 31st, I had been in the hospital, doctors. I mean, I could have collected over 100 hospital bans,
Yep.
In that amount of time. I couldn't believe how many hospital bans I had racked up. And I mean, I was in the hospital every week for 7 months, either getting a treatment of chemotherapy or some sort of fluids. And then, you're in there every day for radiation. I was surprised you don't control your time.
Yeah.
It is totally controlled by your doctors, your appointments, and things like that. But anyway, the miracles that seriously occurred, so many during this whole time. But right away after diagnosis, Brandon and I decided there have been already so many miracles that we can see. And so we opened up a note on our phone, and it's a shared note between us. And he and I would add to that list whenever we had an experience or something that we felt we recognized that, man, God is with us. He is watching.
Yep.
I'll share a few of my favorites from that list that we recognized, and literally that miracle list. It's in, and we still add to it to this day. I mean, I think we're in the 70s now with all the miracles that we've seen. One of them in the very beginning was that intake nurse.
Yep.
She just was like, no, we're going to do something different.
Yep.
Right off the bat. And then the second one, I felt it was a miracle that I was in Aruba where I received the news. When I came home from that trip, I have cancer, and I could confidently say it's going to be okay.
Well, and it's so nice that you were in Aruba with your biggest support system, right? With your sister that just took such good care of you the whole time, and your husband who took didn't he go with you to every chemo session?
Everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone. Yeah.
Every nurse there was like, how do I get a husband like that?
Yes.
I love it for you.
I didn't know an oncologist doctor or a surgeon.
Yeah.
You're kind of thrown into it. I just prayed that morning before we met everyone that, Heavenly Father, just if it's not right, just help me to feel like it's not right. And in meeting with all of the team of doctors, every one of them, I looked at Brandon after I feel good about them. And he said, I know, I do too. And I just thought that was wonderful that we had such a good first impression of them. And then the work that each of them have done has been fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
And then just progressing into the treatment, I mean, just how our Relief Society, which is an organization of women that literally showed up in droves to help us. After surgery, the meals were brought in. And then during chemotherapy, I had meals brought in weekly. And then there was cleaning once a week. And, and at the time I was like, I didn't know those meals and the cleaning, they were just a meal and a cleaning probably to the women who were in our home and brought us a meal and cleaned. But what it afforded me, 9 out of 10 times I couldn't eat the meal or I tried and it wasn't a success. But the meals were for me to not have to worry about our family, what they were going to eat.
Yep.
And the cleaning allowed me just to sit and just enjoy the time with Brandon or the boys that would sit. It allowed me just to let my mind rest. It afforded me time is what it really did, and mental rest. Everybody and those women rallied. How amazing is that? Who gets that, right? I mean, it was incredible. And I hope those people, those women and families that did that for us, I hope that they in turn were blessed for that, because I know that our family has benefited so much from that.
Well, and I think they were. And for people who are listening that are like, oh, I don't have that type of support system, or, oh, my church group wouldn't do this. I think it's also important. And I just want to know, it wasn't just the church people. You and Brandon. And again, I think a big part of it is because you guys have such big personalities and you're such positive people that you had your neighbors helping to do these things too. You had your your tennis team mates helping do this. You had kids, your other parents from school. You had other people from different churches and different wards. Like you have, because of how much you guys have served and how much you guys have given in the community. It's like what people say, right? Like what you put out, you get back. And you have put so much into your communities, be that your kids' schools and your churches and your teammates and all these things, and the community, and being a good neighbor, and the community rallied. So it wasn't just like the group of women in the Relief Society. It was your whole community everywhere rallied around you guys. It's always a blessing to watch people go through difficult things with grace. And I feel like you guys were the epitome of grace throughout the whole thing. You and Brandon both. Brandon was always so grateful. Your parents are always so grateful. Like, and I personally am grateful. It was beautiful to watch and witness and to be a small part of as well. So anyway.
Thank you. Yes, you're right. We had the community support us through it all. We really did. So another thing that occurred. So my sister Carrie, who lives in Tennessee, she would always come up during the harshest weeks of right after I'd received chemo. And it was really cool to have her come so often, because she got to be a part of so many discussions we were having as a family. And so my parents live here. She got to see my parents on a regular basis and see my boys on a regular basis. And then, just her being here and serving us and doing what she could as a sister. And she, oh my goodness, on the first day of chemotherapy, I got texts from all of my family because Carrie had made a t-shirt. And I received texts from my nieces, my nephews, my sisters, brother-in-laws. They're all wearing this t-shirt.
I love it.
And my parents and Brandon showed up at the chemo with Kelly Strong t-shirts, and she orchestrated all that to happen. And during all of this, where she has been serving us so much, her son took his life, and she couldn't come on the week that she was normally scheduled to come. And she called and said, Cordell is gone. Cordell has died, and I'm not going to be able to come. And she was worried about me, right? And of course, that's just who she is. She's just one of these that is constantly looking out for others. And
Cordell he wasn't living at home.
He was not living at home. No, okay. He was 24 years old. I mean, golly, just now her whole reality had totally changed, done a 180. Yeah. And we got to be there for her at the funeral and viewing. Even in the midst of he's gone, she has still shown up here in the midst of her heart, even after it. And as physically hard as cancer can be, I tried to always remember it could be worse. And we got to sit on the front row of, well, this is worse. Yeah. That is a lot worse than what we're having to go through. And our boys were pallbearers for Cordell. They're really close to that side of the family. Anyway, it was definitely, it's been hard, it's been hard. And it was a reminder it can get harder. So enjoy and make the most of today, because we're not promised tomorrow. There was just another little miracle. I was at the car wash vacuuming out my car, and this woman comes over, and this is in the middle of chemo. And she comes over and she asks if I'm going through treatment. And I'm, yes. And she said, I'm on the other side of it now, but I just want you to know there's a community of breast cancer warriors out there. And we had a 10-15 minute conversation. And I said, I can tell this is really out of your comfort zone. She says, this is definitely out of my comfort zone. But
how could you tell that she was out of her comfort zone?
Because just the way she even walked up, because I saw her walk up and I thought, I could just tell by her body language, this is out of her comfort zone. And she acknowledged that it was. And I just said, I just want you to know that I'm putting you down. And I explained what my miracle list was. I'm putting you down for that. And I'm acknowledging that because I want to be in your shoes one day. I hope I see a fellow person going through treatment and try to offer hope and that they can keep going, because my understanding is a lot of people stop treatment. And my oncologist warned me of that. She said, after this treatment, after treatment number 4, you are going to want to quit. And I am here to tell you, please don't quit. And I'm going to keep encouraging you not to quit. But she said, so many patients quit after a certain point. She was just saying, your recurrence rate, if you quit, obviously it's going to jump. There's just a higher risk of recurrence if you quit treatment. And so I want to try everything I can do to where I only see you once. I only do this one time with you. I loved that girl had the courage to come over and say something to me. I thought that was really cool. I think overall, looking back over the last year and counting out individual miracles and going back to my miracle list and reviewing that from time to time, God is in the details. And he's not just in the details of a cancer diagnosis or a death of a loved one or trials going on in your marriage. And that's just the thing that we learned and we experienced, that God is in the daily. But if we're not looking for him, if I can't see him in the small things, man, I truly will be blind to the bigger things that are happening in my life.
I love that. That is so true. I love that.
Yes. And so if I'm too absorbed and wrapped up in myself, I will never see God in the little details. I won't see that, man, I hit all 6 green lights in that one road.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But it's something as simple and little as that I'm going to give him the credit. And
That is seriously, that's so funny because I didn't know that other people do that, but especially when I'm running late and like,
yes.
and I hit a green light, I'm like, oh, thank you, Jesus. Thank you. That is a tender mercy. That is a tender mercy.
It really is. It is.
Specifically mentioned, like, yeah, when I get my green lights, thank you.
It is. And those are the things that he's helping us out with.
Yep.
And those are the things that carry us and give us hope that we're not forgotten, that we are loved, we are seen, and we're seen in the small, and we're certainly seen in the big. And especially in certain parts of treatment, when I really started to get sad and down and really feel lonely, I didn't have to stay down and feel lonely for very long, because I would turn to certain things where God was sending me a message. So, for example, one of the times when my sister was here, she put on some music, and that music just spoke to my heart, and it spoke truth. And I was like, that's a way that God is trying to reach me right now, because I was just feeling having a pity party. And those pity parties are fine, but typically the only person coming to my pity party is me. So that party is not going to stay fun for very long.
Yeah.
And when I begin to, I can recognize that when I can't see or feel God in my life, well, who am I focused on? Yeah. Typically it's me, you know?
Yeah.
And so I've got to turn that around and make sure that I'm focused on more than just me. It's such a bigger picture. And I had been blessed so much by other people that now that I'm on the other side in the upswing of things, that, man, it's my turn. It's my turn to give back. It's my turn to be a vessel. It's my turn to do a good job in where I'm asked to serve. It's my turn to make sure that if I have a thought about sending a text, and that was the other thing. I can't tell you how many texts I received just thinking about you, praying for you, get cards in the mail. I kept every one of those cards. And those are just reminders of people acting on what they felt. And that's a reminder to me to act on what you feel. And even if the recipient isn't in a place to respond or whatever, just do it.
Well, and I think too, for people that haven't been in that place, like you said, just do it. If they don't respond or you don't get a thank you card, know that like these people are drowning, and give some grace where that is concerned. And, you know, don't second guess, oh, I shouldn't have sent that text because they didn't even respond to it. No, if you felt like you should, do it and have peace in that, and don't worry about anything else, because a lot of times, you know, you're in the bathroom for a week at a time almost, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or people that are going through just very difficult times. A lot of times they don't even have the mental energy just to heart a message, even though you and I are going, that should not be hard for them to at least acknowledge. Sometimes it is.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say, Kelly, to the cynic or the skeptic who's going, okay, but if God was really there and he really cared, why didn't he just take the cancer to begin with? Why give you a bunch of small things instead of taking the cancer?
Oh, I believe there were lessons that Kelly and Brandon White needed to learn, and Brady and Bo White and Anthony needed to learn. We needed to learn to be receivers. We are on the end of giving, and we're good at giving. We love to give, and to be a receiver, that was hard.
Yeah.
That was hard.
Yeah.
And I really think being on the other end of that, and just how humbling it was for us. We were so touched by every act of service, every text, every card, every prayer being said on our behalf. You know, we were just so touched by so many things, and we needed to learn that it's just as important to give as it is to receive, and to be a humble receiver too, a gracious receiver. Maybe
Yeah.
that's a better word. And I just think the other thing is like, yeah, God could take the cancer, but I'm glad he didn't. I'm glad that I personally had to do things that nobody else could do in the journey. People had to spectate and watch. I mean, he was refining and changing my heart through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Another thing that I learned through it was how to just be more curious about other people and to sit with them, even in their in their pain.
Yeah.
There's nothing anybody could do. They couldn't take the chemo on my behalf, right?
Yeah.
And just being able to sit with, there have been so many people that I've sat with and cried with. And I say so many people, maybe not so many, maybe a handful of people. It's uncomfortable. It's hard. It really was healing.
Cathartic.
And yeah, and to ask the hard questions. I have members of my family that wouldn't use the word cancer.
Really?
I heard about your illness. I heard about your situation. And it was interesting to me. And I thought, it's okay to say the word cancer. And like for my sister, it's okay to use his name, Cordell. And Cordell has died. Cordell's no longer with us. And it's okay because that's what it is. And it's okay to ask, because I think people don't want to bring something up for fear that it's going to cause, oh, I don't want this to upset you. Well, the truth is acknowledging it. It's not upsetting. It's the lack of acknowledging that is.
It's ignoring the elephant in the room that's upsetting.
Yeah, exactly. And so I feel like just going through it, obviously I feel like I've come out the other side and I'm better for it.
Well, and one of the things I was thinking of when you were saying that too is you guys were looking for the miracles, which is kudos to you. A lot of people don't do that, especially going through hard things. I've had hard things where I haven't looked for the miracles, and I've had hard things where I have looked for the miracles. And it makes all the difference in if you feel God's love versus feel like God doesn't love me, right? If you're not looking for those miracles, it is very like God doesn't care. But if you're looking for the miracles, you feel so much of God's love. Every time you get a text, you feel a little bit of a little Jesus hug. Every time you get a meal, every time you get all these things, versus if he had just taken the cancer away, that takes away this opportunity for you to feel God's love for months and just this continuous care and watch over you, that that God has you, right? It's like, it kind of reminds me of the 10 lepers that he healed, right? Just because he took their illness away, that didn't increase their love towards them. Most of them didn't even say thank you, right? Just the one. And so I feel like going through these hard things, if we allow it, it can give in us a spirit of gratitude, and this help us create a relationship, a two-way relationship with our Heavenly Father, where I'm not just praying to deity and some whatever. It's, I have a Father in heaven and he loves me and I love him. And I'm so grateful because I see him every day in my life, versus this one time experience, right? Where you are healed and now we're good. And thanks, Jesus. And we're on our way, versus like a year of every day. Like, as much as I would love the mountains to move, and I think a lot of us, when we're climbing, want the mountains to move. But in hindsight, you usually are grateful to have been able to climb the mountain and not just had it moved out of your way, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I feel like as far as looking, it's, if you have a desire, you'll see.
Right? Yes. Oh, that's so true. Yes.
Like if you want to be bitter and you want to be angry, and I don't fault people who are, and I think those are important grieving steps to take. Just don't stay there for long, right? And the sooner you can get past that and decide that you are going to find the miracles, it's going to be for you. But it once you decide and once you pray, help me to see your hand, help me to see your miracles, I think people and in my life, and maybe you too, as you started to write these down, or were you shocked at how often you're adding to this list? Are you like, oh my gosh, I did not even I can't believe how many times we're editing this list and adding to it.
Yes, I was.
Were you?
And it was really cool because Brandon would receive something or have a conversation with someone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, totally separate from me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really cool because it brought us together, and he's sharing his experience. And then I had that experience at the car wash, for example, just totally random people that had an impact on our day.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, we were surprised, but I think looking back, it's like, why should I have been surprised? I mean, my goodness, he's got us, right?
Yeah.
We felt that so many times. Like, the Lord has us. He's so aware. He's everywhere. He's in the details of it all. And yay.
Yep. Okay, so one last question real quick. You said that cancer was not the hardest thing and that you had kind of been prepared for this. So looking back, is there one particular instance or one particular experience that you feel comfortable sharing? And I know sometimes those experiences are too sacred, but is there one particular thing that you look back on and you're going, this is what prepared me for this. This is what strengthened my testimony to be able to look for the miracles and thank Jesus versus cursing Jesus and going, why didn't you take this from me? What was that experience?
Yes. So, gosh, this was 7 years into our marriage or something, right around there. And
real quick, you guys have been married how long?
We've been married 25 years. And at the time we had, Bo was just around 3 and Brady was a newborn. He was just a few months old. And at the time, our marriage was not good. We were not communicating well. There were things happening in the marriage that should not have happened. And I just remember, like, okay, I don't know if I can forgive this. I don't think that I can continue being married. And so I remember I went to the temple, and this is a place where we just go for, how would you describe the temple?
A temple is just like an extra holy house for us.
So when I say that our marriage wasn't good, it was not good because infidelity had occurred. And at the time when all of this went down and I was playing detective and staying up all night, and it was awful. And I just remember, Heavenly Father, I don't know if I can forgive this. I don't know if I can look at him the same. I don't know. I don't think I can. Well, anyway, I was sitting in the temple, and I had gone to the temple. I had already made up my mind. Okay, Kelly, we're gonna get a divorce, and I'm just gonna have to figure it out. I'm smart. I can find a job. I don't know all the answers, but I can figure it out. And I was praying and just telling Heavenly Father my plan. Like, this is what I'm gonna do. And I was praying, and just as you and I are talking, seriously, there was a voice, there was a thought, and it said, Kelly, stay. And I remember sitting in the temple, and I was like, damn it. I don't know if anybody else has ever cursed in the celestial room, but I did.
Was it your voice? Was it your voice, or was it a different? Was it your own, like the sound of your own voice
that said stay?
Yeah.
It was a different voice.
Okay.
It was, because my voice would have never said that. And I probably would not have acknowledged that it was my voice. And I was really taken aback by what I heard.
Obviously.
And I thought, oh yeah, exactly. You get that. And so over the course of the next few days, it was getting us into counseling.
So you left, and you started immediately to take steps to make it possible to stay.
Yes, because I said, okay, Heavenly Father, I will stay. I will stay for now. That he has free agency and so do I. And at that time, of course, Brandon was, Kelly, I will do anything. You know, I've really messed up. You know, he wanted to save the marriage. It was really on me what I wanted to do. He was all in, and I wasn't sure. I was the one on the fence. And so, but I knew. I was like, you know, there's an expression. It's like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And I was very much like, I'm not going to I will not make a repeat of this. Make no mistake. And I was like, Heavenly Father, I will stay. I will do what I can. I will do this. And what really started to happen was I could see changes Brandon was making, like, and even his countenance.
Yep.
And this didn't happen overnight. This took years.
Yep.
I mean, years of rebuilding trust, rebuilding just the love and the trust for one another. But I say all that because I'm like, oh, our marriage has weathered a storm, a really, really hard storm. But when those that we have shared this story with, I always tell people, I say, you know, that was the darkest time in my life. And I would not change it for anything because we have come out of that storm. Our marriage is better, stronger, happier than it was in the first 6-7 years we were married. And we've learned how to communicate on a level that, I mean, our kids, I don't know if they've really ever seen us. They've seen us disagree, but we don't fight. We really learned and
healthy communication.
Yes, and put these tools into place that our counselor taught us. All that to say, I wouldn't go back and change that. I just believe that going through that for so many years and rebuilding brought us to a place where cancer and Brandon caring for me and his attentiveness and all that, I don't think it would have been the same. You know, there's a level of love and trust there just because we'd already been through a really, really hard thing.
Yeah.
That it was, cancer is just cancer. We can do this. We can do this. We've done harder. Anyway, there have been many a times when I've heard of infidelity where we have sat down with other couples. And while it does happen so much, there is, I don't know, there is hope if both people are willing to be all in and try again. And but full transparency and communication, and it can be done. There was a time during the really hard part, having two very small children. We're trying to rebuild our marriage in the midst of raising and parenting these two small children. I remember there were several times, particularly I would attend the temple all the time, at least 2 to 3 times a month. I say all the time. That's not all the time, but
That's a lot when you have little kids, though. That's a lot.
It was. And I was there very frequently. And I can't tell you how many times I never heard Kelly stay. I didn't hear that voice, but I always left with, it's going to be okay. And I didn't necessarily know if okay meant we were going to have an amazing marriage or okay meant I'm going to be a single mom in a year. I didn't know what okay meant.
Yeah.
But I felt it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And those same feelings came with a cancer diagnosis. It's going to be okay. And I remember thinking, I don't know if that means I'm going to be on death's doorstep in a couple years.
Yeah.
But in the moment, in the present, it's going to be okay. And that is just evidence for me that those moments, those nuggets of peace that we receive, man, they're what I cling to in certain moments.
Yep.
And that's where I put my hope. It is, I received that, and other people's opinions or whatever, you're looking at it from, you didn't receive that answer.
Yep.
I did.
Yep.
And I know what I need to do. And I'm not going to put my weight in what other people think, even when they are very trusted, value family members.
Yeah.
You weren't there. You didn't get the same answer I did. This isn't your marriage. This isn't your road. This is ours. This is what we're going to do. So, yeah, I think for me, it was just those small moments of it's going to be okay.
Well, and I think the key word there is it is small moments. It was a one-time Kelly stay. You didn't get that every time you went. Keep going,
Nope.
Kelly. You didn't, you know what I mean? You didn't get a whole lot more. The only thing you got more for that was it's going to be okay. And like you said, you don't know which way that meant, but it wasn't, you didn't have that feeling all the time. You didn't go every time and feel warm and some of the things that we want when we want our answers or when we want to feel God's love, but you do have a teeny tiny thing of peace of going, it's going to be fine. And you have to focus on that instead of that 1% versus the 99% of all the crazy anxiety, scary unknowns, and just cling, like you said, cling to that one moment that you got blessed with that keeps you moving until the next time when you go and get another moment to stack up and keep stacking those moments to keep the faith and keep the trust going.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes. You know, it's really interesting. So many years ago, we really did. We decided, like, when the moment comes to share it, this will be something that people can hopefully lean on. We determined years ago that it's our story, it's our chapter, and it's a part of it. If people want to judge, they can judge. But for us, we're here as a resource and a living, breathing of it's possible.
Well, I love it. Thank you for sharing. That's a lot. Anyway, I appreciate the vulnerability.
And unfortunately, I will say every couple that we sat down with, not a one of them have stuck it out. So maybe.
Well, it's hard. Like you said, both people. Problem is a lot of times when that does happen, one person doesn't care. One person isn't going to be repentant and apologize and try and make it work. They're like, done.
And it is so interesting. I was just barely talking with Brandon about this the other day. And he's like, you know, Kelly, when I think back to that time and where I was, and he said the sheer lunacy of where I was, where my head was, where my heart was. He said, that's the only word that I can describe that time. He's like, I was a lunatic. And I wasn't thinking, I was so self-absorbed. That's all I thought about was me. And I didn't have my priorities straight. And so, I mean, that person, I'm like, I don't even remember.
He doesn't even exist anymore. He's a completely new person.
Yes. And like when he gets so emotional and he talks about the atonement, he's like, because I am living, breathing of how the atonement does work, that it can absolutely shed off that all the crap. And you can become absolutely made new, made whole. Thankfully, even though I didn't make the mistake of infidelity, I saw where I could grow in our marriage, how I could change, how I could be better, instead of, because there was a point in counseling, because when we first went, oh, honey, I was pointing the finger and I was like, we're here.
With good reason, too. Like
absolutely. Yes. But at some point during the counseling, I started to recognize that, Kelly, you know, Brandon had a choice and you didn't like his choice, but man, you've got a choice here too. You've got a choice not only just to stay and to work it out, but you too need to change. You can't expect this marriage to work if you're doing the same thing that you've been doing. You need to work and to change and also not only forgive, but to understand that forgiveness, you need to be working on the changing within yourself as well. So
it sounds like you too, even though you were the one committing the infidelity, you too had the atonement. I think what you were getting at was the atonement played a huge part in your life too. And it made you a new person as well.
It
just in different ways, in a different,
Yes, absolutely. And so there's just the possibilities and what the atonement can do and will do for those willing to work with the Lord. It's amazing. And there's just no way that we could have made a marriage work after that without Jesus. It just wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't happen.
Yep. I never ever would have thought. That's
just
so far from the people I know and the couple I know with you guys. Just a solid, very, very loving couple. So
yes. And it really is amazing when you decide we're gonna move forward and we're both gonna give 100% at this, and allow the Lord to just work and change our heart. It's crazy what can happen.
I love talking to people about these things and getting into it. Like, it just makes my day so much better every time I get to do this or edit. Like, I just love getting to hear and be strengthened by other people and their experiences and be reminded. Like I feel like it was an epiphany for myself today when it's like, but if God took it away, you wouldn't have that relationship. He would have robbed you of this beautiful relationship that you've gotten to create and nourish and grow. And we need that relationship, especially now where the world is getting darker and darker. We need a relationship with our Heavenly Father and our Savior to just fortify us and help us to fortify our families. I love it.
So true. It's true, Brittany.
Thank you so much.
This was awesome.
I appreciate you coming on, and thank you so
much. Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember, God has not ceased to be a God of miracles. And if you have a miracle you'd like to share, we'd love to hear about it. Please reach out to us via our email at thedivineinourtime@gmail.com. Thanks. Have a great day.